Hello guys, how are you? Today Amy is with us and she will talk about her talent, her natural gift, which is the creativity of God within her. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Amy Baez. I am the founder of a company called Playapy, creator of a handwriting program called PALS, and a pediatric occupational therapist, and someone that likes to talk.
Awesome, Amy. And what is your talent?
So I thought a lot about this, but in a simple way, I would say my talent is actually public speaking. But to explain that in a little more detail, I think my talent is more that I publicly share my creativity in a special way.
In what way?
Well, currently I do weekly videos. Sometimes it's on a stage, sometimes it's producing an event, whatever it can be. But I think what is particular is that I'm really sharing my own creativity and making sure that it's heard in a way that's very detailed, but also playful at the same time.
And what brings that talent to you?
I think it's something that I developed over the years. I noticed when I was a child that I was very creative, and I like to do things that were in a public way. So I would choreograph dances, I would sing on stages, I would play music, I would draw, I would write poetry, I would do all these things, and I always wanted to share it with other people. And so over the years I learned to just kind of cultivate that. There were times that I put it to the side though, and I noticed that when I did, I wasn't really feeling like I was myself so much, and there was something missing. So the more that I went back to that and allowed myself to, get back up on a stage or get behind a camera, is when I really started to feel alive again, and that I was actually fulfilling my purpose.
And what do you think brings to others that talent when you do?
How do I feel others can bring about their talent?
Yes, thank you for correcting me.
It's okay. I feel like others can really cultivate their talents when they pay attention to what feels very natural to them, what brings joy to them. It's funny because although I'm a therapist, I am surrounded by a tribe of creative people, and therapists aren't normally considered to be creative people. So I hang out with a bunch of people in the film industry, or musicians and singers and dancers and all these types of people, because that's where my creativity lies, is fostered by those types of people. So even though you may not be in a career where you think would be a good match for your personality, you still can do things within that field that allow you to really shine in that way, or use your talent in a special way. And so for me, that's what I started to do. I started to realize that even though as a therapist I was working with people one-on-one and was really good at that, I really was more helpful and really felt like I was doing more for others when I started to share more publicly on a larger scale. When I started to put out my work and publish it so that others can see what I was doing, not just the few people that I was working with, then I really felt like I was giving more and was more able to create more, and that's when I really started to see a difference for myself, and then others started to see that as well. So my advice to other people would be to do the same, is to see where your strengths are and really pay attention to fostering that. And maybe not paying so much attention to where your weakness may be. Sometimes people feel like they need to be very well-rounded, and sometimes that can actually get in the way. If you can really just focus on what you're good at, then you can really excel more. And for me, one of those weaknesses is time. And so when I try to not pay attention so much to the time, I actually can really put out much more creative-wise.
That was a perfect action for my last question, actually.
Okay.
And but I want to know something. You are a therapist, right?
Yes.
And you work more with kids.
Yes.
Why you choose work with kids?
That's very interesting. It's funny because a lot of people tell me that I must have a lot of patience to work with children, and I don't feel that's the case at all. I actually feel like it takes a lot more patience to work with adults. But I think I like working with kids because they are less aware of what they may be missing out on so much, or what they might have lost, because they're still in the process of gaining it. When I was a therapist, I'm working with children who may be having difficulties with life in general, different skills that they're trying to develop. And I love being able to give them that skill, or to help them to become independent and see them, to see the potential within themselves and discover these new abilities that they have. And I just feel like that's a lot of fun. I mean, I get to play for a living, and you can't really complain about that, really. So right now I'm currently creating these weekly videos that I publish on YouTube, and basically I'm talking to parents, and I'm trying to give them topics that I discuss, tips on how to play with their children, sometimes even just affirmations, where I'm just trying to give them some inspirational words so that they can get through to the next day, because parenting is not easy, and especially if you're working with children that may have some special needs. And so when I'm doing these videos, I'm trying to not just educate, but also have a little fun myself, and I'm trying to just kind of play in my own creative way. And I feel like that makes it more enjoyable for the person on the other end, but it also makes it more fun for me.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, last question then. And how you will say something to the people who is watching this video? Not exciting advice, but topics or tips. Tips about the way they can develop the talent, or be aware of the talent that most of people are not aware. How you would?
Sure. I would say one particular piece of advice that I'd like to give to people is a test that I took. There's a test called the Wealth Dynamics test, and it's really geared more towards entrepreneurs, but it really tells you an area, like what areas are your strengths, and may also tell you what your weaknesses are. And one of the things that I learned was that my type, I guess you would say, is that I'm considered a creator foremost, and then my subtypes were a mechanic and a star. And I thought this was really interesting to me, because I realized that, yes, that is why I excel in those areas. It's because that's what comes really naturally to me. Being a therapist, I would normally fall underneath a different category. And what I noticed is that when I was working as a therapist and not using my creativity, I wasn't as happy, even though I'm doing something that's very noble and good for the world and good for people. I enjoy doing that and being able to do that. But what really made me happy inside was when I was using my creativity in doing so. And that's when that was what was really helpful to me. So that would be one tip that I would give to people, is maybe taking a test like the Wealth Dynamics test to see like where your strength is, and knowing that you can cultivate that area. And then the other thing is just to try, to just do it. Don't be so caught up in being perfect. Every time and that's one of the challenges that I have. If I work too much on making something perfect, I'll never put it out there. And so I really just have to put things out there and just try it out and see what happens. And then I can tweak it later on, or I could just delete it, start over. But I don't need to you know, it's not going to serve anybody if it's just sitting on a table or in a drawer and no one else is really participating in it or getting to experience it, at least from a creative standpoint. For other people, whatever skill there is, I just think that they need to go out there and practice it more and expose it to others and see what happens.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Amy, for your time and be open to this experiment about natural talent. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.